Hello everyone and welcome to A Soundtrack Story. Today we're going to take a look at one of the most unique soundtracks I've listened to, and that soundtrack is the one of Hyper Light Drifter. It's a game that goes so deep, it doesn't really need words to describe its plot, because it's rooted in a reality that shows instead of tells. The music of it is mysterious, haunting, and all around interesting to listen to. Things we'll talk about a little later. Anyway, enough chit chat, let's get started. I always like to go into detail about the creators of the game. In this case, it's a must because Alex Preston isn't your normal art director. Alex is the creator of the video game studio Heart Machine. His job for Hyperlight was mainly to steer everyone on the team in a general direction and have an overview on the entire project. Alex was born with numerous heart defects and a genetic mutation that has controlled him throughout his life. He spent most of his time leaping over giant obstacles and dodging the inescapable hands of death. He's had many heart surgeries, his first being when he was 1 year old. Later on, he had a pacemaker put in, but sadly, it didn't help much. With these illnesses, Alex is confined to many things we take for granted. He has a very strict diet and cannot participate in physical activities, and this was mainly the reason why Alex started playing video games in the first place. Alex freelanced art and game design before HLD, but was very private about his work. But after a hospital visit in early 2016, he finally realized he needed to do something before his time was up. Heart Machine's team that worked on Hyperlight was made up of Alex, Bo Blaith, which worked on code and design, Teddy Def, code and design again, Casey Hunt, design and story, Richard Vreeland, music, Akash Takar, sound, Sean Ward, animation, Lisa Brown, design assistant, and lastly, Cosmo Galazzi, which was an art assistant. This small and dedicated group of artists put everything they know into this game, and what came out was something amazing. I would also like to point out that they are now ramping up production on their next title. Heart Machine will be adding different people to their team for this, but we still don't know what it is, so we'll just have to keep an eye out for it. We do know that Richard Vreeland will be working on the music for it, so expect a soundtrack story on it sometime in the future. Richard Vreeland, which you already know, is the soundtrack producer. Richard also goes by the name Disasterpeace, and is known for his other well-known works like Fez, and It Follows. His first introduction to music was mainly led by his stepfather, which was a musician himself. He was a music director for their church, and some of Richard's best memories were jamming in the basement on the drums there. In high school, Richard started learning the guitar, and at 17 started composing music. Richard then went on to college and decided he wanted to go into graphic design, which didn't tickle his fancy much. He then dropped out and went on to Berklee College of Music in Boston, Massachusetts. He went on to make some studio albums such as History of the Vreeland, The Chronicles of Jamage, The Jam Mage, and many more. His first game soundtrack was for a game called Lemonade Grin, which was made back in 2007, and never used any of his music, and in his words, left 16 perfectly good loops out to dry. You can listen to these pieces from the game on his website, which I'll link down in the description. He then started on his second soundtrack for Rescue the Beagles in 2008. He went on to make other little soundtracks for games until he made one of his most well-known works, the Fez soundtrack. After Fez, he worked on It Follows, and soon after, Hyperlight Drifter. There was a lot of questions I wanted to ask him, so I got a hold of him through email and asked him a few. Where did you see yourself in the future as a child? I wanted to be a sports broadcaster. I didn't really know what to expect from this question, but I'm glad he answered it because I would have guessed he would have wanted to be like his dad. How did you get involved with Hyperlight Drifter? Alex got in touch with me through a mutual friend. What was the true feeling Alex was going for in HLD? I think we wanted to convey a lot of different shades of darkness / conflicted emotions. Definitely wanted to do something that would capture the geographic depth of the world and its vibrancy. Lastly, what can you tell us about the upcoming Heart Machine game soundtrack? To which he answered, saying, nothing. Lol. Hyperlight Drifter's music relies heavily on atmospheric tones that can be broken down into different pieces. The first being ambience. Ambience in this game is like putting peanut butter on toast. It makes it that much better. Most of the time you hear music, it's always a drone in the background, or some effect that comes in and out of existence. In some pieces, it feels like one big movement, almost like a wave hitting the beach. But the waves would be blood, and the beach would be bones. That's just the way I picture it anyway. The second thing is balance. The music the player hears should not be in their face at all times. It shouldn't be quiet and calm when there's an amazing boss battle coming up. And Hyperlight sits in that pocket of perfection that, and I say this a lot, many games get wrong. The third thing is progressions. A lot of what's in HLD is strange sounding chord progressions that make the player feel like something could pop up at any moment. It's quite interesting because many, if not all, of these chord progressions can be used for jazz pieces. 8-Bit Music Theory goes into more detail about that, so check him out if you want. Link will be in the description. I don't think I can imagine a world where Disasterpeace didn't make a soundtrack for this game. The same goes for every piece of media he's made music for. It wouldn't give off that same charm that really needs in a way. I honestly don't think Hyperlight would have been as successful if Richard didn't make the soundtrack. But let me know what you think in the comments. In the past, most of my soundtrack stories have been made partially or with all real physical instruments. Hyperlight Drifter, on the other hand, relies on its electrical, bit-tone, glitchy structure instead, which fits much better with the visual and storytelling style of the game. Hyperlight doesn't use all electrical sounds in his music though. Some pieces are sprinkled with different instruments. Take Panacea for example. It uses piano as its melody in the song to give it a bit more flavor. Here, take a listen. There's also acoustic guitar in Seeds of the Crown. Though it's very distorted, you can make it out very easily once you listen closer. As far as real instruments, that's all there is. The rest of the soundtrack is made up all electronically, and rightfully so. There are some really cool things they wiggled into it from the real world. One of my favorites, which Akash Takar talks about during a DCD session, is this.
Is that a stethoscope attached to a regular microphone?
Absolutely it is, sir.
Okay.
What I'm about to play you is a recording of my own blood, basically. So what I did was just hold it up to my wrist, and all I did was take that blood recording, pitch it down, and add distortion to it. And this ended up being a part of the ambience that was in the last boss battle, this kind of low rumble.
Yeah, not the most normal thing ever put into a video game, but hey, it really worked well and made the final battle feel more intense. There's so many things like this sprinkled in HLD, but that would need a video on its own. Interestingly enough, playing Hyperlight doesn't feel like a game to me. Yes, it's an amazing platformer that has really fun mechanics, but I feel like it's more of a roller coaster of emotions that slowly drags the player into its world. With some games, it's very easy to say, it was a good platformer, or it had a great story, but I felt like HLD nailed both. So what do you think? Tell me your thoughts on Hyperlight Drifter down in the comments. I'm very curious to see what you guys think. Also, don't get me wrong, every game has its issues, and that definitely includes Hyperlight. The main thing that got me, mainly because I'm a giant noob at video games, was the difficulty. Otherwise, I totally enjoyed the game. And Richard, if you're watching this, I can't wait for your next Disasterpeace. Thanks for watching! Make sure to subscribe to the channel and like the video if you want to see more soundtrack stories. Speaking of which, what soundtrack do you want me to take a look at next? Comment down below. Also, hey, do you like live streams? Do you like me? Well, do I have news for you. I'll be live streaming Hyperlight Drifter here on YouTube. Come stop by and have some fun. It'll be a blast. I'm also trying to figure out what else to do to gain some ground here on YouTube. So what would you guys like me to do? There's not a lot of things I can do on here that make sense, since it's a music channel, but I could sure make more tunes. I've come up with some other ideas like Let's Plays, skits, etc. But that sounds like it would be on a whole different channel. Anyway, thanks for watching. Phoebe out. Well, I have news for I have news for you. Also, hey,